So we're going to go ahead and talk today about video, audio, and other multimedia. This is a pretty important topic as far as most websites today have some sort of media embedded in them. And as far as is embedding video, audio, and other multimedia, in general, if you are going to host material, just about everyone today is going to either host it through YouTube or Vimeo or some of the other free platforms. They'll host their video. As far as audio, the same is true. You could use SoundCloud and other platforms for actually linking back and embedding those audio pieces. But we are going to talk through them today because if you go to work for a company and the company wants to maintain its own digital rights management of their media, then they may be hesitant to put certain types of information out on YouTube. Maybe it's proprietary, maybe it is training videos, maybe it's something that they don't want the general public to know about. At any rate, how you embed video and audio and other multimedia is still very important to learn how to do. So in today's lesson, what we're going to be looking at is we'll talk about third-party plugins and the importance of going native with HTML5. Although you're going to find that most third-party plugins have been done away with, except for a couple of file formats that you may have to use here or there. We're going to look at the various different types of video file formats that you can use, how to add a video to your web page, adding the controls, the audio, autoplay, and so forth to your video, how to cause your video to loop and preloading, as well as using fallback with multiple sources and falling back to text. We'll talk more about falling back to multiple media types because that will be important, as well as falling back to text when your media isn't supported. And questions about accessibility. This is actually a very important one. You'll notice now that just about all YouTube videos allow for some type of closed caption, and you can actually specify your own closed caption based on language and so forth. You can write your own closed captioning for a lot of different languages now using the web VTT standard. We'll talk about audio formats, audio file formats, and how you add an audio file with the controls to your web page. Again, the same ideas of auto-playing, looping, and preloading audio, providing multiple audio sources as well as the fallback for those that text fallback when your media type is not supported, and adding audio and video with Flash as a fallback. I do want to say, though, that Flash is dead. Okay? Long live Flash. Flash is dead. We really shouldn't be using it. However, if you're working with a company that still requires Flash, then we'll talk through how to do that as well. And then there's other advanced multimedia topics. All right, so let's talk about third-party plugins. Before HTML5, you could typically use other plugins like Flash or Java. In fact, Java really set the stage for this, using the object tag and then pointing at the code. The browser would pull in a Java SDK and load a little applet on the screen, and you could interact with the applet, and the applet would send data right back out to some type of text file or database on the internet. Both demanded a lot of resources from your computer, and they typically could cause your computer to slow down, and a lot of times they would cause your computer to crash. your browser would just freeze up, your computer would freeze up, and then it was not fun. Not to mention the security bugs. Both Flash and Java opened a door onto your PC, your Mac, that there were routine instances of hackers snooping through people's personal PCs, grabbing information, or turning their PC into a farm bot, where your PC then would go out and send messages to other places. This was before HTML5. Now, because of native media that's been added to HTML5, we've seen improved performance, and stability. Not to mention that the Meteor Player controls and buttons now, they're built into the browser. And reliance on plugins have been greatly reduced, but they're not completely gone. I know, unfortunately. I think we all want a simplified solution for doing HTML and including media, but we still have some instances where you have to use Flash, and that's unfortunate. Keep in mind, though, that if you have a Mac, an Apple device, an iPad, Flash is not supported. It will not work. All right, native media issues. So when native media was introduced, they had this thing where they would say to the browser, all right, tell us your media type that you want to support. And so each browser came up with different media types. So, Apple came up with the MOV file and also the MP4. Windows was supporting MP4. Android was supporting WebM, and not all of these standards are supported across back and forth. So it meant that you still have to do this, by the way. You have to provide more than one media format, because if someone loads a WebM file on an Apple phone, it's not going to play. So you have to provide as well as an MP4 or an MOV or an OGG something. I forget the name of it is. But let's talk about what kind of set the stage for this. Back in early 2000, I think it was like 2002, when was this? 2010, I think. Apple announces that they're no longer going to support Flash. And when they said that, the iPhone was just really coming into being. A lot of people were moving toward it, and everybody was getting on the web on their iPhone or their iPad. And Flash wasn't supported. And people really wanted folks who had iPads and iPhones and iMacs and all of these computers to support their web media. So this really was the death knell. Knell here it's an old English word when the bell was rang, like at a funeral. If you ever go to a Catholic Mass, you hear the ding, ding, ding. The bell is being rung because someone has died and they're taking the body out. Well, this was the death knell for Flash. But the great thing is that this also paved the way for more W3C standards compliant browsers to support HTML5 media types and videos. All right. Digital rights management. Digital rights management, DRM for short, is important for you to know. You've probably seen this with DVDs. You have to have a DVD with a certain region. If you try to play a DVD from the wrong region that your player doesn't support, it'll tell you that you can't do it. And it was created to keep things simpler. And even still today, if you download videos, Windows used to have these videos. Microsoft used to have this video player that you could download. You would download the video, and it had an encryption key embedded into it, and your player had to match the encryption key, and it encrypted the entire video file, and anyways, that's how those work. Well, when you post a video, the content can be stolen. And so HTML5 currently doesn't support any types of digital rights management. There's no encryption supported in that. There are talks underway for standards for new browser implementations, but nothing yet has been put out there. So if you want to support those, then you really have to go to some other paid plugin that will encrypt your video and keep it protected. That's the unfortunate fact of that. All right. Even your YouTube videos, by the way, you can download YouTube videos. You can't, if you put them out there, people can download them. And I've done it myself. They're not protected. All right, so let's talk about codecs. A codec is a computer program that uses compression, and it's a compression algorithm. For example, JPEG is a compression algorithm that shrinks the image file down, right? It encodes it and decodes it for a digital stream of data, making it more suitable for playback. So think about the objectives of a codec. It's trying to maintain the highest audio and video quality while keeping file sizes. Now, there are many codecs out there. Some are better than others, but they all have trade-offs. So some codecs will have great audio and video quality, like your 4K videos. But file sizes are, whoa, they're huge. And others, they really compress down, they squeeze things. You may notice this on Facebook Live videos. You take a video, you post it on Facebook, and Facebook has a codec that is compressing that video down to make it more manageable for phones, because they're all about the experience. Most folks, they get on Facebook on their handheld device. So you want to think about that, the type of codec you're using. All right, video, audio, and other multimedia. On your 000 web host, free web host site, there is an HT access file. These files are prefixed with a dot, and on Linux systems, this means that they're typically hidden. And so you have to, if you're going to SSH into these boxes, you'll do an ls-la to see all the hidden files, and the HT access file is there. Please do not delete your HT access file. In those, though, many browsers will not play the media if the MIME type is not served correctly. And so you do this through your HT access file. You would do this differently on something running IIS, a Windows server. You have to specify it differently on those boxes. But on your Apache boxes, Tomcat, WebLogic, all of these, you have to specify the MIME type. And the way you do this here, the very simple way, is you type add type video/og.ogv, right? And that allows you to support the OGG standard. You have the MP4 standard, the WebM standard, the OGG for audio, OGV is for video, OGG is for audio, and then of course everyone's favorite, MP3. Okay, keep this in the back of your mind. You probably won't encounter this anytime soon, but as soon as you get out on a web server and you try to support videos and they don't play, this little slide's going to hopefully roll back to your memory, and you'll go, aha, Mr. Rogers mentioned something about this, that HT access file where I have to set the MIME type. All right, so your video file formats. There are 3 video file formats or codecs that are supported by HTML5. You have the OGG Theora, the MP4, also known as the H.264, and the WebM. OGG Theora, it uses the .ogg or the OGV file extension, and this is supported by Firefox, Chrome, Opera, and Firefox for Android. Okay? Keep that in mind. MP4, or it uses the MP4 or the .mp M4V file extension. This is supported by Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, iOS, mobile for Safari, Android, Chrome for Android, Firefox for Android, and Opera Mobile. Now, interestingly, Firefox for the PC doesn't support this, but for mobile on Android, they do. Right? I don't know if you're seeing a pattern here. And then you have the WebM, and its file format is .webm. Firefox supports it, Chrome supports it, Opera, Android, Chrome for Android, Firefox for Android, and Opera for mobile. But Safari doesn't support it. So you have to at least provide 2 different media types when you're going to provide videos on your websites. It means you have to have at least 2 of these 3 so that Safari or Firefox or Android or whatnot will be able to play the files. It's unfortunate, but such is life. All right, any questions so far? Has anyone ever seen the Og Theora version before? That just rolls off the tongue beautifully, doesn't it? Og Theora. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump forward here. Let me go back real quick, though. Be sure to provide at least 2 of these. You'll have to do this, as well as provide a text fallback if the browser, for some reason, doesn't support. And we'll talk through that. All right, so some media types, the formats can be added to the machine, but the machine first has to install the media format. It's not really useful. So, you know, you're not going to force everybody on the internet to install the media type that you want on their PC. And unfortunately for Macs, you're not going to be able to do this for Safari and Mac OS very easily either. However, for private intranet sites, you could get away with this. And what I mean by an intranet site, these are closed networks for businesses, and they have internal sites that are only meant for their businesses to operate and access. I work for Indiana State part-time, and Indiana State has some closed websites, right? They're not for the entire web, they're only for the local intranet. And the only way that people can access those sites is if they're using a VPN to get into the network. And once they're on the network, then they can dial in, they can put in the URL. But those are closed sites, and typically those sites are only supported by certain types of browsers. So if you want to convert your media format, there's a couple of useful tools here. There's other tools as well. I use Filmora when I'm editing videos, and with Filmora you can do this. But a couple of good free ones are mirovideoconverter.com. I'll go ahead and bring this up for you guys. mirovideoconverter.com, and I'll as well bring this and drop it into the chat for everybody so that you can see it. I recommend going out there, taking a look at this. You will need reload. I don't know why it's saying that, because I accessed this earlier, I believe. There we go. It's not secure, so you have to take off the S on the HTTP. It's not a good sign for Miro. They need to have a secure version. But you can go to mirovideoconverter.com and they'll convert it. as well as you can go to, let's see, where did it go? You can go to Handbrake. And Handbrake offers a open source video transcoder. You can download it from Mac OS, and there's other platforms. Let me put this out in the chat as well. I recommend you take a look at these. It's going to be very important that you my local network is blocking this because for whatever reason, the Miro, but you should be able to get to it for your sake. All right, Handbrake is a downloadable application. This will convert the file formats. You can see the different degrees. You have MP4. You have presets. It's a great tool to use. All right. Any questions about video conversion? All right. There's a lot of other ones out there, and it might be good for you guys to Google them and share these among the team. You can, just send them via email or post them in one of the announcement windows or other discussion forums as well. Okay. By the way, I know you're like, get on with it, Mr. Rogers. By the way, the reason I'm bringing this up is you will have to, for your assignment, include multiple videos, okay? And I think this is also as well in your project. So make sure you get familiar with these and know how to convert your media files. The best way to, if you have a media file that you're wanting to put out there, like right now I'm recording with QuickTime. I think QuickTime also works on Windows boxes. I'm not sure. But you can record your video and then take it to Miro, and Miro will convert it for you. Okay. Adding video to your site. This is very straightforward. You have a video tag, you specify the source, and then the URL to that media file type. Now, in this instance, we have a WebM type of video, and I think my Chrome browser will support it, but Safari won't, right? So this is the straightforward way. Doing it this way is with no controls specified, and the browser will pause on the first frame of the video. So you can specify the dimensions, like so. You can tell it the width to be 369, the height to be a 208. Notice we're not putting pixels here, we're just setting it straight out. All right, I'm going to jump out of this, go over to Atom, and let's see here, close out some of these. I'm going to open a new project. NMC, CS222. I'm going to create a new folder here. We'll call this WK9 audio video. Apparently I closed it. Let me go back again. There we are. I'm going to open up my project. I'm going to create a new file, index.html. We'll let Adam supply all of the details for us. I'm going to, let's see here. I think I have some videos that yes, I have many videos. All right, this is where it's on my desktop. Okay, so we'll use the video tag, and I'm going to point at the location where it's at. So this is users, Michael Rogers, desktop, paste that in there. And we'll talk about these other attributes a little bit later on. Just going to specify those. And then I'm going to come over here and we're going to open the file. Let's see, where were we at again? NMC, CSS, index. And there you can see it's actually put my video right on the page. And there's no controls for the video. However, with Chrome, I can right-click on it, say Show Controls, and I don't know if you could hear that playing in the background or not. But that's one way to do it. All right, so let's go back to Adam, and now we're going to change the height to be 369 and the width to be 200. Saved it, come over here, refresh it, and now my video is really, really tiny, right? So let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make that an even number, like 500, and this 350. I don't know. It's probably still not big enough. That's a little bigger. All right, y'all bear with me. I'm learning curve as we go, right? There we go. So you can specify the size of your video and it will show up on your page. Is everyone able to replicate? Did you have some kind of video sitting around? No? Yes. That is an excellent question. I think we should try that. What do you think? All right, I'm going to create a CSS folder real quick here. And new folder, new file, master CSS. And let's see, video, border, radius. I'm going to say 50 pixels. Save it and refresh it. See, this is the beauty. You learn as you go, right? Did I not save it? Oh, there we go. Save that there. And border radius 50 pixels. It's not affecting it, is it? Sad life. All right. We might be able to try some other things with it, though. We might be able to do like a border 1 pixel solid black. Refresh it. And there's your border radius, right? That's not really what you were hoping for, was it? Directly do it in the HTML. What do you mean? You know, I don't know. That's something I haven't really thought about. I imagine if you really wanted to alter the way this looks, you could provide a transparent image, and the image would include your border radius to create the rounded effect. Are you trying to create like a TV screen, old-fashioned TV screen look? Oh, okay. You want to annoy everyone. Okay. I'm sure there's a way to do it. We probably have to stack some layers of boxes, and you could probably do it by stacking some of these. But let's move on, and we'll come back to that. All right, so let's see here. So that's typically how you set the source and the video, and off you go, right? Let's look at some of the attributes. So these are all attributes that are can be used by the video tag. Sean, you're cracking up laughing. Are you okay? You're not okay, Sean? You got it under control? Okay. The only attribute that is required for videos to work is source. This must be there, obviously, if you want to play a video. All of these other controls or attributes, they're not required. All right, so let's walk through them. The autoplay, well, let's back up. Source has to have a valid URL to the video. It could be local, and it could be distant, meaning not on your server. Autoplay is a Boolean variable, so if you specify it on the attribute, it will automatically start playing the video as soon as it can. Controls is another Boolean variable. If you add it to the video, then the controls for the video will be present so that the users can control the playback. It can be annoying, but let's say you're in your video and you decide that you want to make the attribute autoplay, well, and you have no controls. Did I save it? I did save it. Well, that is weird. Autoplay should automatically start. Let's say autoplay. Autoplay. Ah, I bet you have to have the autoplay along with controls for that to work. Let's see. We'll take this back out. Yep. And that works. It automatically some strangeness going on there. This may be browser and machine specific for that autoplay to work. All right, well, we'll come back to that. You learn something new every day. Okay, so you have muted. It mutes the video's audio. You might have seen that on some of these sites that have videos kind of playing in the background as you load their page, and they don't want to annoy you with the audio, but then you're like, oh, that looks interesting. I might as well turn the volume on to hear that, right? So you can mute, you can set the video to loop. You can set a poster. This specifies an image to be displayed instead of the first frame of the video. So when the video loads, it takes the URL to the required image file. Poster is something that's used in a lot of clickbait. You probably know what I'm talking about. You see a video on YouTube and your first inclination is, oh, I want to see that. You click on it and never once in the video shows anything about Star Wars. You're like, why do they, clickbait, right? Make sure that your poster image, though, is something that describes what the video is. This is also useful if your image type, or excuse me, if your media type doesn't support, your media type is not supported by your browser, at least the poster will be displayed instead of just this blank screen. And then, of course, you can have the fallback for the video types be a text field. And the text field can say something like, your browser doesn't support the media types that I have. We have already looked at the width and the height and then preload. So hints to the browser how much of the video it should load. It could take 3 different values. None, don't load anything. Metadata, let only the video's metadata, length and dimensions be preloaded. Or auto, let the browser decide what to do with the default. Okay, let's go ahead and take this a step further. We've already added controls and we've added autoplay and controls. Let's go ahead and add all of these 3 together. Let's go back to Atom and we have auto. Let's change the order here. Autoplay, controls, and loop. And what was our other one we were looking at? Autoplay, controls, and loop, right. All right, so we've added those 3. Save it, we'll refresh it, and we have basic information, right? This is a nice feature. Unfortunately, you can't see it, but when you say picture in picture, right? So you can go full screen with it, which I think in my instance, there we go. Yep. You have your controls, and that is it. All right, let's go back to our lesson. Now, this is the typically what you would see. You have the play button, the pause button. You have the length, the audio, and the expand. Okay, so the other one we have is poster, paddle steamer poster JPEG, right? So let's see here. Poster is an image you want to be seen on the first frame. Right, we just talked about some of this. For example, if IE and Safari do not support WebM, at least your poster will display and you can have the text out there. Let's go ahead and do a poster real quick. I'm going to bring up Paint and I'm going to create a new poster. Let's see. That looks about right. Just going to do something real quick here. Learning HTML and CSS. Today it is videos. Okay. All right, so we're going to save our poster. I'm going to put this in my NMC folder. Where did you go? And just going to call it video poster. Save it as a JPEG. Okay. So over here, I am going to type poster and video poster.jpg. We'll save it. We'll go back to our video, and then there's our poster, right? And you click on it, it automatically goes right into the video. Pretty straightforward stuff. Unfortunately, they don't give any like fade-ins or things like that for your posters. It automatically, once you click start, it switches. Maybe that's something future standards will include. Right? So that includes the poster. Let's go back and look at our lecture again. Posters are important. Make sure that, of course, your poster, you're saving it in an appropriate file format, something that makes sense. You don't want to create this high quality image and then slow down, add extra bandwidth to slow down everything you're already trying to load or stream across the internet. This is why often I recommend that your video be stored on something like YouTube or Vimeo. Because, let me say this as well. Your web hosting servers, you have to pay for the data access to those servers. So if you have 1,000 views on your server, you may be like, wow, this is awesome. I got 1,000 people hitting my server and they're watching my video. The data that's streaming from your server up out onto the network and out onto the internet and across the internet and so forth, that data is being paid for by the web hosting company. And so what do? They set a cap and they say if you hit this certain amount of data threshold per month, you have to pay extra for the extra data. So again, this is why I suggest using YouTube or something else. Don't get caught in a trap, think you're going to host a video site with all of these videos and then your subscription rates don't pay for it because you're paying more than what your hosting company will allow. These are all things you have to weigh. Okay. As well, you can specify preload as none. If there is no poster and preload is none, it's just going to be a blank page, right? So let's go ahead, test that out. I'm going to take, let's first of all just put our preload on there. And we'll say none. We'll refresh it. And it doesn't really do anything. right? Until you come over and click the play, and then you get all of this metadata. So let's go back and change it again. Let's take out the poster. So I'm going to delete that, save it, refresh it, and now there is nothing. Your poster background is blank. There's nothing visible at all because you have preload set to none. Now there's some other options you can use as well for preload. Preload typically will help your page load faster. So if your video is huge and you're trying to serve it on your page, keep in mind that the user has to deal with the bandwidth issue of downloading enough of the video in order to play your video. So consider setting your preload to none and using a poster, because what that does is it keeps a minimal footprint, data footprint for you. It makes your site load faster. Let's talk about the controls. So a number of the controls are Boolean attributes. When they're a Boolean attribute, we've talked about this in some other of the HTML pages we've worked on. Boolean attributes like disable or read only, you do not have to put the equals disabled or equals read only. This is the same for these Boolean attributes. So when you say controls attribute is the same as saying controls equals controls. Or autoplay is the same as saying autoplay equals autoplay. Boolean attributes, you can just specify the attribute itself and move on. All right, so now we get to the question of videos with multiple sources. So if your video file type is not supported, like a WebM type of video, then it's a good idea to have a link to where this file type is located. By providing an href, what you do is you allow them to stream the data or download the video for viewing on another device. Maybe they want to be able to download the video and watch it in one of the other players that's on their computer. If your browser doesn't support it, though, then you need to include this this file type. All right, so let's break this down a little bit. A couple of changes here that we see within the video tag. Notice that now the source is in its own tag called a source, and it's wrapped in the parent of the video. This is typically how you would do this. And then you're going to specify the MIME type. So you'll say type equals video MP4 or type equals video WebM. So if we go back to our Atom browser, we could do the same down here, and we could just say source, and I'm going to just take this file and pull it out and put the source there. And the other attributes are still fine to be set the way they are. The other side of this, let's go ahead and save it though and demonstrate what happens when you save it and refresh. It's basically done the same thing, right? Oh, we didn't specify the video type. So this is a MOV, I believe, is the way we do that. There we go. MP4? Yeah, there we go. So the move videos are MP4s. So you have to specify that MP4 type. All right, so that gives us the same layout. Now, alternatively, you'd put inside of here a P tag, and you're going to specify some type of text. I'm sorry, the video you were trying to play is not available for your browser. Please download here to play. And then you could put a href right? Specify the full URL. Notice that my URL is only on my local machine, but if you have a web server stood up, then you would need to specify the full host name and path and everything. So we refresh it, and obviously it's not going to show anything here because it doesn't make sense. But if we take out, maybe make this, I don't know, EER. Trying to hack the system here to make it do what I want it to do. Fortunately, I don't have any other videos available to test this with, but what would happen is when the page loads, the first thing it's going to do, preload is going to be set to none. The source is this first video. If it can't play the first one, it's going to follow through to the next source. If it can't do the next source that you have, it would fall through to this p text. And of course, if there's some scenario where that is the case, that's what you would see. Did I save it? Well, it's not going to play with me at all. I'm trying to demonstrate this p text showing, but this is how you do it. All right. Let's go back to our slides. All right, any questions so far? None? All right. Let's talk about accessibility. So many times, a lot of videos now, they provide what's called web video text tracks. And most universities, most government agencies, they require that any media those organizations provide must have a web video text track. And it's a very easy, straightforward standard. It's basically you specifying a timestamp and then underneath it some text. So it'll be a timestamp range. Underneath it will be the text you type. And then underneath that would be another timestamp range and more text that you type. It's actually very easy to create. So we're gonna go ahead and load this site. And this is a great blog for you guys to take an opportunity to visit. I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and go there now. And let's see. Yeah, here you go. So here is the format. You're going to specify some type of ID string. This is the queue, right? Or the time range. And then the text, that is going to be displayed for that time range. So if you're looking at, for example, the video that we had, let's see, where did that video go? This video here, you'll see that as it's playing, there is a timestamp. And as the timestamp progresses within a certain range, that is where this the text here will be displayed. All right, here's another example of it. So we have everyone wants the most from life, and it's labeled out for you, right? It's very easy to do. You can actually construct these yourself. There's some companies that offer parsing, where they do voice to text recognition, and they capture the timestamps and they create them. This gives you the ability, though, to create closed captioning for your videos. So if you have a video that you want to provide Chinese or Korean or Tagalog, Chamorro, or English, you can provide those. And YouTube, by the way, will allow you to specify multiple language types, and the person watching the video can click on the closed captioning and pull up the different video types. This is a great way for specifying it. All right, so here you can see that what you would do is you would specify the track, you'd specify the location of the video track, and you'd specify the source language. Right? Any questions so far about this? I actually think this is fantastic that this is available, because you don't have to go to someone to create these. You can actually create this format yourself, and it'll just work. Okay. There's various browsers. I think this blog was created in 2011. I know Chrome and the modern version of Internet Explorer now support this. And there is a sample here, I think. And so they're using a, can you all see this video? Here, I'll make it larger so we can all see it. Click play. And there's your text track. Okay, very powerful, okay? Very powerful, good stuff to use. And if you look at the sample file, you'll see that, again, it's very, very basic. Very, very basic, right? There's not a lot going on there to make it difficult. And then if we look at how this is implemented on the page, you can see how the text track is set. So we have the video, we have the sources, there's your THOG aura, there's your MP4, and there is the text tract, right? Very easy to use, very easy. And of course you have your source language. I don't think, yeah. So you can change it. You can set different languages by changing the, by providing them. You could provide a source track for English subtitles, and you can see that's what it has here. You could provide one for, in fact, we can kind of play with the system here and change this, and let's just say Chamorro subtitles. Whoops, don't do that. Now if I come over here, oh, well, I was hoping it would update it automatically, but it's not going to work like that for me. But this is how you do it, right? So you could create multiple tracks. All right, any questions so far? You guys are all still with me? All right, Let's take a break for a second. Everyone kind of stand up, stretch. If you need to get a drink of water, go ahead. I know you guys have been sitting for a while and you're staring at a computer. Don't want you to fall asleep. I'm going to stand up myself here. Okay. Okay. I think we're still waiting for one or two people to come back. As soon as they get back, we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at other multimedia and accessibility things that we can do. And then there's a great blog we'll look at as well. Okay, I think we have everyone back. So I want to continue with creating our own WebVT real quick. Here's another site. This is called tutsplus.com. They have some tutorials, and I'll go ahead and share the link as well. You guys can pull that up and take a look at it. This article is a little old. January 5th, 2012. This is presented by your textbook, but I'd like you guys to take a little bit of time, look through what is being discussed here, and you'll find that some of this has changed. Again, this is examples of the WebTT, web tracks. And you know, here's the fun thing about these web tracks. Let me pull this back up. I'm going to grab this web track right here. Actually, let's see. Save as. It's awesome. It already understands what it is. I'm going to put it in my folder over here. We will, let's see. Make sure we have everything set back on our page for this video. Yep. And we'll type track and we will use the UPC video subtitles English.vtt. If this works, I'm going to crack up laughing because I just think that's hilarious. All right, save it. Well, I'm going to get back to you about this one because I'd like to demonstrate a version of this for you guys. I think having the web tracks is a really good thing to include on your videos. All right. Anyways, let's go back to our lesson. There's another great blog here talking about accessibility, and this one's at terrellthompson.com366. It's just a blog, but it's another great site to consider. I'm going to put it in the chat for everyone. Terrell Thompson. And if we take a look at that, these are the different accessibility comparisons, things that you can do. Again, it's focus on the video tracks, text tracks, and yeah, great blog. Okay, let's go ahead and jump on over to talking about audio file formats. There are a number of different audio file formats that exist. We have again the OGG Vorbis as opposed to the OGG Theora. OGG Vorbis uses the .ogg file extension. It's supported by Firefox, Chrome, and Opera. MP3 is supported by Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, and iOS. By the way, MP3 is copywritten, so there's a copyright license on the usage of MP3, and I'm not sure the status on that, but you might want to check into the legality of using MP3, especially on public-facing websites. MP3s, though, file extension is pretty obvious. Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, iOS. WAV files, .wav file extension supported by Firefox, Safari, Chrome, and Opera. If you're going to use WAV files, I want to warn you that they're typically very, very large because they're raw video files, raw audio files. You also have the AAC file extension supported by Safari, Internet Explorer, iOS, Android. MP4, again, it's video and audio. Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, iOS, and Android, and the Opus file extension. And right now it's only supported by Firefox. All right, so the two best versions that you can use are the MP3 and the OGG Vorbis. There's a great program you can download. It's called Audacity. Has anyone heard of Audacity before? Audacity is a open source audio compressor and video editor. It will convert files for you. The Miro video converter as well. It converts not only just videos, but it will also convert audio files. The typical way that we do audio files is we say the source, we have audio as the tag, the source, and then controls. It's very straightforward system. Let's take a look at the audio file attributes. So you have the source. Again, this is the URL of the audio file. You have autoplay, which automatically starts playing the audio as soon as it can load. You have controls. So this adds browser default control to the audio. You have muted, which mutes the audio when it's played, and loop, which plays it kind of in the background. And you have preload. Preload hints to the browser how much the audio it is to load. I believe I have some audio files that I downloaded. Let me see if I can find where I put these at. Under my downloads. I have some somewhere. I will figure that out. But let's see. The process of doing this, let's go ahead and pull up Atom again. It's very straightforward. We'll just type in audio, and again, Atom is going to help us with many of the files that we need to use. So you supply the source, and you want to give controls. And if we save it and refresh, we'll see that it standard display. Now, each browser is going to change the way this is displayed because they all have their own implementation of this. There are some libraries out there, some JavaScript libraries that allow you to create your own custom controls, and they'll give you a unified look between all browsers, whether it's Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, or whatever. We'll talk a little bit about those later, though. Okay. And again, you have things like muted, loop, and preload. Metadata, when you say preload, will load only the audio's metadata, and auto is the default. This is the same as your video controls. It'll let the browser decide what to load. So when you're going to autoplay, you'll use the autoplay Boolean attribute. I say Boolean because these are, they're Boolean, right? You only have to list just the attribute. You can say loop, which will loop the controls, or you can say preload the metadata and then the controls. All right, any questions, guys? Any questions? All right, let's go on. So same process again, audio file format fallbacks. If your browser does not support the OGG standard or the MP3 standard, then you want to provide the same type of textual fallback. And you can supply an href pointing at the audio. Now, I want to point out something here that most browsers, if you supply a link to the audio, they'll automatically load that audio as in a control. And that's been available for quite a while now. And I believe the way this works is it automatically implements the audio tag in the background and displays it. But doing it that way, you don't really have a lot of options of whether it's loaded or whether what the fallback is or whatnot. If you want to play the audio file, then make sure you put it in, or if you want to download it, make sure you put it in an ahref, an anchor tag. Okay. And then other topics. So flash fallback. Yeah, there it is. So you can still use Flash, but it's pretty much dead, and I don't recommend it. The other ways that you can do this, SVG, video, and Canvas. And when I say Canvas, I'm not talking about the educational learning platform. I'm talking about a JavaScript tag called Canvas, and they allow you to interact and do things inside there with JavaScript. There's even, with the Canvas tag, you can also autoplay audio in the background. There's been some great video games written with this. Okay. The other one I wanted to bring up was Media Element JS. If you go ahead and load that site, Media Element JS, I'll go ahead and copy the link, posted in the chat for you guys as well. Go ahead and take the time to load this. There is a downloadable player that you can use, and there are JavaScript players. So if you look at some of the examples, we'll go ahead and let's see. Yeah. So what this gives you is the ability to embed the video in your site with multiple background sources. So for example, this audio you could have from SoundCloud, and it's going to pipe it through the audio player. The same as well as you can use it from YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitch, right? Dailymotion, a lot of options there. So it will actually pipe the video through those particular formats. Media.js is pretty easy to use. It's not difficult. If you click on the API, now keep in mind that we're going to be getting into JavaScript later, but it gives you a lot of attribute controls here. So you'd specify your standard attributes, and these are the parameters that you would pass for your JavaScript. Let's see for an example, if they have an example somewhere. So if we go into the index.html, you'll see that it is linking to those files. JavaScript's down at the bottom. Okay, so there's the players. Let's go ahead and back up. Go to the demo and look at what they've done. All right. Don't become overwhelmed. We're going to talk more about JavaScript later on, but it's down here that they're going to be declaring the types and how to access and render and so forth. Okay, that's media element. Guys, there's a lot that we're just barely skimming the surface with concerning what we can do with HTML, CSS, and with audio and video. Do you all have any questions for me today? Anything left over? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and pull up our class today and take a look at the assignments this week. We didn't look at assignment 14. I'm going to go ahead and talk through it a little bit. I don't think this is very difficult for you guys. It should be pretty straightforward. And then we'll also jump in a little bit here with assignment 15. So if we're looking at 14, all right, so this one is including a MP4. So you basically have to include the MP4, add Flash, and a hyperlink fallback. You are not going to be required to add the Flash for this. Just the hyperlink fallback will be sufficient because Flash is dead, and I don't want you to use Flash. Okay, so go ahead and if you open the folder up, there should be a yeah, here's your video, Pacific Trails. There's the flash file for it, the MP4, the MOV, there's the OGV. So go ahead and add the fallback for all of these except the SWF. Okay, you're not going to need to do this for Flash. The SWF file is the Flash file. You guys understand? Okay. Everyone's listening to this, right? Can y'all show me a thumbs up? Because some of you, I can't see your faces. Okay. Alan, are you there? I don't know if Alan is with us or not. I noticed his camera is off. All right, so the SWF file, don't worry about including the Flash fallback for that, but you do need to include the poster image. You need to include the text and so forth. And I think I've given you pretty good explanation on how to do this. This is very, very straightforward. All right, let's go ahead and pull up homework 16 zip. Where is it at? Okay, so this is the homework 15, homework 14, chapter 16. That's a little confusing. And for this one, we have our forms. There we go. So notice what it says. The show form CSS should be created in the CSS folder. We're not going to modify the show form PHP, and do not modify the show form HTML. All right. So for us, let's go ahead and see. Copy that. It won't let me do it that way. So we're going to copy this. Go into our NMC folder. CSS222. And here is our file. So I'm going to open or add a project folder. And there we go. Close some of these down. So there's our HTML, our form, our show form. This is the PHP file and our form CSS. Let's go ahead and let's go back to our Word doc. All right, so what I'm going to need you guys to do for this assignment, when you're done, you're going to submit You're going to submit the assignment as is, homework 14, your name.zip, but I also need you to post in that assignment the link to your web00host.com site, because we want to see, I want to be able to click on it and see the information. Guys good? Understand? So, any questions right now? The only thing you're going to be modifying is your show CSS. So let's go ahead and take a look here what this is going to look like. So there's the form, right? So you're going to have to style it to look like this. All right. Most of this you guys should be pretty comfortable with at this point in styling these forms. But keep in mind, you're not going to modify your show PHP and you're not going to modify the show HTML. So if we look at the show form, this is going to submit this action, right? So you're not going to modify anything. And when it returns, it's going to come back in this, in HTML with this PHP. Now, if I try to display that PHP in my browser, it's going to look like that, because the browser doesn't know how to understand this. But the Apache web server, which has PHP loaded on it, will understand this format.